Hello and welcome to Physics. This is a course we offer for primarily juniors and seniors here at Springfield High School. My name is Matt Randall. I'm excited to tell you about the course. In this class and in our science department in general, we like to say that students are using the tools of science to learn science. I hope that your child will also find that this is a really interactive, engaging course. I like to say it's both a hands-on and a minds-on course. In physics, we study students study the fundamental laws that govern the universe. And we start off by being able to describe motion so that we can predict the future. And the slide that I'm showing you here is an example of one of the outcomes of our first lab, which was studying the motion of a toy car. So a very simple motion, something moving with a constant velocity. And one thing you'll notice here, or maybe a big thing you'll notice here, is all of the different representations. And so one thing that students are learning how to do in this course is how to precisely describe motion in graphs, in equations, in words, in diagrams, in data tables, in equations that have numbers in them, and equations that only have letters. And so really, and there's a lot of research reports, is students understanding how to represent and explain things in multiple ways develops deep understanding. An example of something that they have applied this with at the end of that first lab in that sequence, students had two different toy cars that they could measure the speeds of, and their job was to predict where those two things would meet when released from different locations on a measuring tape. And here's an example of the type of thinking and work that students are doing. And so the solution on the left is an algebraic solution to that problem. And then the solution on the bottom right is a graphical solution. Many students are, through our labs, and I think through some of their other classes, are getting really familiar with using an online web app called Desmos. And it's just been really natural for them to solve it both ways. Many also solve this with diagrams or with data tables. It's actually quite a few different ways that students demonstrated their understanding towards this. Our next unit and our current unit is accelerated motion. And so not to talk too much about this, but that's what students are learning right now. And I wanted to show one other tool that students are learning how to use. And this is also that same web app called Desmos. This is an example of a way that students are developing skills and growing in their independence in that. And so this is an example of example student data that's already built. Sorry, it's already in here. So this is example data that students collected. But I wanted to show you what the actual software does and what students are able to do with the software. So right now, there are 4 functions that are built in. And if I grab this constant slider, you'll see that as I change it around or move it to different values, and let me extend that to make it even bigger, you'll see that this graph kind of comes to life. There's 4 different patterns that are most relationships in the natural world, or at least in physics, follow. And so those functions that describe those patterns are built in here. And so in our labs, after collecting data, students are using this tool to figure out which pattern best fits their data, and then how to write an equation for that. And then in discussing with other teams, they're basically comparing the results of their lab with the results of other teams in the class so that they can figure out things about that relationship. For example, what does the constant represent in this equation? I think that's the main thing. Those are the main things I wanted to tell you about physics. I'm excited about the year. As the year goes on, we'll be practicing and using a lot more engineering skills as well. And so I'm excited for some of the projects that students will be doing individually and also in groups. I would love to answer questions that you have. Feel free to contact me. Thanks very much.